One does not have to travel far in England before being confronted by history. In some places millennia old, elsewhere just a few hundred years. St Albans is not just historical, it's historic. Here we're looking at a 1700-year-old wall, give or take 100 years. After exploring the park and the town, it's time to go a little further. But we have to pass the lake again, and the bird life beckons once more. Our next stop will be Verulamium Museum, and many of the museum exhibits come from this site. Thus the visitor is able to get an insight into life here in times past. Rachel is enjoying the place. As usual, a great variety of birds. The swan with her cygnets. The coot on her nest with her chicks. Being bald as a coot is not as bad as you might imagine. And ducks and pigeons enjoying the seeds that can be bought at the shop here. Obviously quite tame. They literally eat out of your hand. Verulamium was the Celtic name of an Iron Age settlement, meaning settlement by the marsh. It was situated on Prey Hill, a mile or so to the west of modern St Albans. The Roman city of Verulamium became the second largest town in Roman Britain after Londinium, and was developed from the Celtic settlement. It was so important that Boudica was here, and it was sacked and burnt on her orders. The ashes have been found. Occupation by the Romans ended between 400 and 450 AD. We then visited the museum. Toward the end of the Iron Age, and 100 years before the barbarian Roman invasion of AD 43, this was the home of one of the most powerful and outward-looking British tribes. By AD 10, it was an important center. The museum is excellent, both in its presentation and ambience, with encased exhibits interspersed with artifacts that may be observed close up in situ. 2,000-year-old mosaics, a common feature of Roman buildings throughout Europe at that time. Some amazing exhibits, including a word from the dead.
Of course, I wasn't the first to be buried here. For over 200 years, this was a popular cemetery.
This coffin was discovered after 1,600 years, the bones intact. The skull reconstructed, so he lives on. Other exhibits portray life as it was, giving insights to the visitor. Some parts left as they were found. Even some coins. Intriguing. The biblical denarius. We then stroll back toward the town. Even the pub is historic, having accommodated Oliver Cromwell during the Civil War. We had heard there was a service in the cathedral and decided to take a look at this magnificent edifice. St Albans takes its name from the first British saint, Alban. The legend relates that he lived in Verulamium sometime during the 3rd or 4th century when Christians were being persecuted. He met a Christian priest fleeing the persecutors and sheltered him in his house, where he became so impressed by the priest that he converted to Christianity. When the authorities searched Alban's house, he put on the priest's cloak and presented himself in place of his guest. Consequently, he was executed and his head rolled downhill, and legend has it that a well sprang up where it finally rested. I have to say the choir here was very impressive, and the sound echoed around this ancient abbey. This is what I recorded. Worship. What is worship? It's seeing God as He is, seeing ourselves as we are, and entering into that life-giving bond. The shrine of St Albans is here. He was probably buried outside the city walls nearby in a Roman cemetery. His hillside grave became a place of pilgrimage. Recent investigation has uncovered a basilica here, indicating the oldest continuous site of Christian worship in Great Britain. Finally, we took a walk through the town. It was just before Christmas when we visited. The Tudor houses and Christmas lights making it very attractive. We had a wonderful day out.